you is if you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. We got a good one lined up for you. We got a couple little news and tidbits we're gonna go over. As the Dolphins reported to day one for their offseason program with Mike McDaniel. As you guys know, new head coaches, they get an early start with their offseason program with the team. So we'll go over that real quick. Then after we get through all the little news and stuff, should only take about like 10 minutes. We're going to bring up Dante Collinelli, and we're going to go in. We're going to have a little conversation in regards to the draft class, the offseason moves so far. I haven't had Dante up since it's been a minute. So we're going to pick his brain on what he thinks, because everyone knows not only is he a big wig now at Blue Chip Scouting, as you'll see by the merchandise he's rocking, attaboy, but he's also a Dolphin fan. So we're going to go into it. We'll talk about it. We're talking about a few players before we went live. So we'll get into Dante. So give me about 10 minutes. We'll get through everything real quickly here. Guys, we already got 232 people in the chat. We are on our way to 7,500 and on our way to 10K before the season starts. Smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. And guys, I mean, hey, it's a big week. Obviously, you know, a lot of you were expecting the linebacker big board to come today. That's actually going to come tomorrow. And that was just like scheduling. You know, I wanted to have Dante on this week, and he was like, you know, Tuesday, Thursday don't really work for me. So I was like, let's get it done right away. So linebacker big board will come tomorrow for you guys. And then next week we'll do the center big board. And then the week after that, we'll do offensive tackle. Specifically, we'll be leaning towards right tackles. All right. And then we'll be done with our big boards. And then we'll get into mock drafts. Ryan Roberts will be coming up here, and we'll have a couple other draft conversations. And after everything is said and done with the draft, well, actually, as soon as the draft ends, I'll be off to Florida for 10 days. And then after I come back from Florida, I'm going to have probably an off-season panel in regards to reacting to both free agency, how it panned out, as well as the draft. So be on the lookout for that. And then obviously we got the Tyreek Hill film study coming. We also are going to have a Terran Armstead film study coming for all of y'all. And then we're still going to be looking back at Jalen Waddle's rookie year in the film study form. All right. So a lot of content coming to each and every one of y'all. Again, smash that like button. Help me with my friend Algorithm. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. Let's get into it so we can get Dante up here. And like I said earlier, obviously today was a big day for Mike McDaniel and the new staff because the Dolphins were one of the teams with new coaches starting the offseason program today. The Bears, Giants, and Saints are the others. Now, I know people are going to ask, okay, well, what is this? You know, what is this whole offseason program they're getting into? What is it all about right now? And really, it's the start of phase one of the offseason program, and it's a 2-week period. It's just going to consist of meetings, strength and conditioning, and rehabilitation. There's going to be really no field work. And basically what happens is the Dolphins are going to start their voluntary mini camp on April 19th and April 20th. And then organized team training activities, OTAs, will take place May 16th to 17th, 19th, the 23rd, 24th, 26th, June 6th to 7th, and then the 9th to 10th. And then the mini camp will also be held on June 1st to 2nd. So, and then training camp begins in July. So it's about to pick up here. You know, we got, obviously we're into April, we're in draft season. So now with them reporting to their phase one of the offseason program over the next couple of weeks, you know, we're going to be picking up here heading into April, May, and then June. So let's go, baby. Let's get it. I mean, I know we all wish September was right around the corner with what has been put together in terms of the defense staying intact, all the new offensive additions. We all want to see, okay, Tua, we all know the deficiencies he's had from the coaching staff down to personnel wise. A lot of those have been fixed now. So let's see what the kid's going to do in year 3. But yeah, there you go. Today marked it, and for the next 2 weeks, they'll be going to the offseason phase 1 of the offseason program. So you can feel it in the air like Phil Collins. Football season is approaching. It never really stops if you think about it. All right. I know the big conversation was obviously Devante Parker over the weekend after the Xavier Howard deal got done, and we're going to talk about the Xavier. There's something I want to play from you guys from Cam Cameron today, and there's a reason why I'm going to play for you that. But let's talk about Devante Parker for 1 second, because we got an idea of the other teams that were interested in Devante Parker. So Jeremy Fowler of ESPN said a couple of notes on Devante Parker trade. Patriots press Miami. Parker wanted New England. And that was actually been confirmed by a couple other outlets that Parker's the one who chose New England. So I don't know if this guy thinks it's about to be revenge season against the Dolphins or whatever the case may be. We're all Dolphin fans. We've lived through it. We know everyone else goes somewhere else. Magically, they take sensu beans, they get healthy, and they start balling against us. But here's the thing. I'm going to go back to, I believe it was Devante Parker's rookie season. And if everyone remembers correctly, X was locking him down so badly, the team was worried about his confidence going into the drain. So, you know what? I ain't overly worried. All right. We'll handle DVP when we get there. And let's be honest, we face the Patriots twice a year, and depending on when we face them those 2 times this year, at most we might see him once this year. All right. Let's be honest, we might even see him for just a quarter. That's how this guy goes, okay? Just send X out on there, mirror him tightly, and tell him to breathe on him. His hammy will go. Just breathe hard enough. Trust me. So Devante Parker, he is now a Patriot. And the other team that was actually interested in him, oddly enough, I mean, I didn't think we would have thought, but the Dallas Cowboys were actually in on him. And it says that they're not done looking down another wide receiver. So all you draft pundits about to do your mock drafts, there's a little tip off for you. Some point they're taking a wide receiver clearly. Devante. So I mean, hey, but again, between all these teams, I mean, this guy chose the New England Patriots over the Green Bay Packers. Are we serious right now? His decision making is as strong as his hamstrings. All right, like that's I don't. If this guy thinks he's gonna have revenge season against us, I'm telling you right now. In what world would you? Even Dallas? How are you, like? All you got to do is win 7 or 8 games there, and you're going to the playoffs. You might get a bye with the way the NFC goes. So I don't know, man. Kudos to him for getting the deal he wanted and going where he wanted. And we got a 3rd round pick out of it, so I'll take it. But if you actually chose the Patriots over the Packers and the Cowboys, my friend, like I said, your decision-making abilities are about as strong as your hamstrings. That's brutal. Enjoy. You are now the Patriots' problem, no longer us. I don't got to hear about the what ifs and the what ifs about 1,200-yard season. It's over. It's over, ladies and gentlemen. And if you didn't hear today, officially now, it's official. Nick Needham, he went out, he signed his tender. And that tender is going to pay him $3.986 million this year. Again, you know, the Dolphins have about 13.874 million in cap, and that's without X's new deal being accounted for yet because the details haven't come out. As soon as the details come out, don't worry, I'll have them for you. But that tells you right there. I mean, again, 21 million, 22 million these guys are sitting on. Come on, they're not rolling that all over. Let's stop lying to ourselves right now, especially when there's more money to be made if you need to cut people right now. So, or restructure. I'm just not buying that. I'm just not buying that at all. So, yeah, and Nick Needham again paying $3.986 million for a guy who basically gave you the level of play of a corner, about making about like $6 million last year. I mean, you look what he did last year. Nick Needham was absolutely fantastic. So he's getting better and better, and each year, and he had another 2 interceptions. He actually didn't allow a touchdown in coverage all last year, and he only allowed an NFL passer rating of 81.4 when targeted. He's actually gotten better each year. The year before, he only allowed 3 touchdowns in coverage. So a guy who has an upwards trajectory. He also had his lowest yards per reception allowed average in coverage last year as well. So, hey, man, a guy with an upwards trajectory like that on the cheap, especially clearly the plan is to move off of Byron. I mean, I'll tell you this right now. It's Byron's last year as a Miami Dolphin. Get used to that one. They already tried to move him. All right. I know for a fact when they were discussing Debo, Byron Jones was in the discussions. So, and, it's also been no secret. It's come out publicly that they've looked to move off of him in terms of trying to make JC Jackson fit under the cap. So I think Byron is entering his last year. That's why him and his agent, they got that cleanup done on his knee to guarantee the money and ensure where he was this year. But next year, it's adios, amigo, to Byron Jones, is what it is. So it just makes more sense to keep a guy like Nick Needham around, especially if you can work out a deal over the next, year, a 2-3 year deal over the next year. So we'll see. Obviously, they got big plans for the position too if they're willing to swing on JC Jackson. So we'll see how it all works out. But Nick Needham has officially signed his restricted free agent tender. Hey, paying a guy like that under $4 million, I ain't complaining. I ain't complaining one single bit. But guys, with all that said, let's get to Dante. He's been sitting back here patiently. Dante, what's going on, buddy? You're muted, bud.
Let's try that. There we go. How about that?
There you go.
I'm so used to sitting back there, I forgot how to talk.
There you go, buddy.
Yeah, what's going on, man? I haven't been on in a long time.
Yeah, it didn't work out last time when I tried to do that little panel or whatever. Yeah. What's going on though, dude?
Just draft season winding down, so I'm starting to fix my sleep schedule and different things like that. Stacking the boards, writing the final stories. It's coming up on my favorite weekend of the year.
Top player on your board right now. Top player on your board.
Top player on my board is Kayvon Thibodeau or Kyle Hamilton. Probably going to be Kyle Hamilton when I finish that.
The two guys that somehow have these issues that have all of a sudden popped up. Like clearly teams out there maneuvering themselves to get these guys to fall to them.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I would hope. I feel like we have these like character problems with Oregon players every year. 2 years ago it was Justin Herbert's not a leader. Last year it was Penei Sewell's immature, and now it's this year it's Kayvon Thibodeau gives no effort, and then these dudes come into the NFL and they're perfectly fine and they're good football players. And then now the narrative is that Kyle Hamilton is slow, which anybody with 2 eyeballs would tell you is incorrect. So, but it's that time of the year. I think people are getting bored. I get it. It happens. You get draft class fatigue when you cover the draft for 365 days of the year. But man, some of these narratives are crazy. But we're coming to the end, thank God.
Before we get into the specific Dolphin stuff here, I know you did. I don't know if people follow you on Twitter, but your whole journey to find quarterback 1 in this class, it was clearly like a troll / mock of how bad this class is at the end of the day. And me and you, let's be honest, we did not have very favorable things to say about Kenny Pickett before we went live here.
No.
Okay, can you tell everyone who your quarterback 1 is of this class and really overall thoughts on this class, and really who would be your number 2 and number 3? Because even those are big unknown. It's like all over the place with everyone this year because it's not that good of a class.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that you kind of have. I've split it up into my head where it's to the point where there are quarterbacks that I would take if I'm trying to win right now, a little bit higher, and then there's quarterbacks that I have in like a potential bucket, right? So my QB1 is Carson Strong, right? Because for me, it's just look, Carson Strong's got the arm talent, the accuracy, the command of the offense, the line of scrimmage. I thought a lot of the film that he showed when he wasn't playing well and his ability to bounce back was really good. So he's my QB1 right now. Now that's if I'm, say the Steelers or I'm the Saints or the Washington Commanders. That's the first time I've said that out loud. If I'm one of those teams, right, like I go with Carson Strong and I say to myself, okay, I've got a good infrastructure around him. I have a solid line, a good defense, some playmakers. I can win with him. Now, on the flip side of that, if I'm, say, Houston, if I'm Detroit, maybe if I'm Seattle, right, you're probably looking at somebody like Malik Willis, right, as kind of that like QB1 for, okay, you know what? I am okay not winning a lot of football games this year because my job doesn't rely on it or my team isn't quite there yet, right? Then you look at a player like Malik Willis. But I don't scout I don't scout years ahead. I scout for right now. So for right now, I have Carson Strong, Sam Howell, and Kenny Pickett as my top 3 quarterbacks.
Say that number 2 name again, baby. Let's go.
Sam Howell, right? So those are my top 3 quarterbacks. Again, I would like to preface this. If you read my Quest for QB1 series on riseanddraft.com, which I highly recommend you do, it's like you said, right? It is kind of a cross between me memeing myself and also doing very in-depth film evaluation. But if you read that series, you can very obviously tell that I hate all of these quarterbacks and then I hate myself for doing this. So, it is very much I have already started looking at 2023 quarterbacks. Like that's where I'm at with this class. This is the least.
Tell them who you love. Tell them who you love because the people in this channel know what the deal is. Tell them who you love.
Yeah, so I'm with you on the Will Levis hype train, and I've been there for a while. I wrote about Will Levis in October. And then when I was watching Wan'Dale Robinson and Dare Rosenthal and Darian Kennard, I kept coming back to Will Levis. That Georgia film is nice, man.
Yeah, man.
He's one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, I think him and Bryce Young were really the only quarterbacks in the country this year who could stand up to that defense. So that was wildly impressive. But the 2022 class is awful. It's just not good. I really like. I don't know if it's because my standards for the quarterback position have risen drastically in recent years, or if it's because this class is actually bad. But I just like, if I was a general manager, would not draft a single one of these guys. My quarterback board would be empty. I'd be kicking the can. I'd be going to my owner being like, look.
Which it looks like what the Eagles did today with the Saints move,
yeah,
right?
and I don't blame them. I'd be going to my owner be like, look, man, I'm gonna go get Teddy Bridgewater
for a year.
Yeah, I'm gonna trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm gonna cut him when his contract buyout drops and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I would not be doing it. That's just me. That's not the reality of the situation. So I sat down and ranked 10 quarterbacks anyway.
Someone's gonna trade up for one of these clowns too. That's the best part.
Malik Willis might go number 2 overall,
dude. To Detroit,
I really would not be surprised for them to just be like, look,
dude, you know what it is?
We're gonna do it anyway.
I'm telling you, there is it's because of the traits.
No, I get it. I think
because I'm like you. Mine's Malik, Sam, and then Carson, and then Ritter, and then Pickett.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's fair. I think I wrote this in my last QB1 piece when I was discussing why I thought Carson Strong was QB1. And I wrote this because I think that Josh Allen's development has skewed the perception of quarterback development. Josh Allen is very much an outlier. There is one,
but it's
Josh
also about
Allen.
Circumstance, right? Like,
yeah,
that's when I go back. I keep telling people environment, circumstance. Dorsey. People forget Newton's MVP seasons came under who? Ken Dorsey was his
right.
Like it's when you get under that quarterback. I hate this term because I think Eric Bieniemy really. Sorry, not Eric Bieniemy. I think Pep Hamilton's actually really Pep Hamilton and Ken Dorsey would probably be the too few guys out there that I actually use this label on.
Right.
Quarterback whisperer. Like when you get under, like, I mean, you can't argue Pep. Even, I mean, Andrew Luck, right?
Yeah.
Then you look at Justin Herbert, then Davis Mills, right? Because me and you, remember last year we sat here and me and you were like, yo, we like Davis Mills more than Mac Jones.
Yep.
We were like, yo, Davis Mills out here, blah, 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 blah. And yo, I'm telling you,
he might have been the best rookie quarterback of the bunch. This
Yeah,
year. He got an
man, he
argument,
was.
man. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last 8 weeks of the season, he might have been the best rookie quarterback in the NFL. Which is
best rookie
wild.
quarterback and the longest neck of all rookie quarterbacks. Agreed, bro. But dude, and the circumstances he was under, like imagine if he was on the Patriots and he had that offensive line and he had that coaching staff, like, and that running game, Davis Mills might have lit it up. But anyways, I digress. So you wouldn't even take one of these guys in the second or the third?
I wouldn't. No, I have absolutely
Wow.
no interest in dealing with the development of any of these prospects. None. Now, again, that's me personally. I have second round grades on quarterback prospects. This is the first year that I've ever done this where I don't have a first round grade on a single quarterback. But again, like for me personally, if I was a GM, I mean, maybe if somebody like falls to day 3 and I'm sitting there and it's like, well, throw a flyer at Desmond Ridder, maybe. Yeah. But I am not spending I would not spend a premium pick on any of these quarterbacks unless my owner came down and was like, dude, you need to figure this out now or you're fired, right? Because like that's where I think like some teams might be there. Like Carolina might be there. Washington might be there, right? Where their owners are just like, figure it out. Washington just traded for Carson Wentz. I mean, they're desperate as heck, So I don't know. Carolina should trade for Baker Mayfield or Jordan Love. I get somebody else in the building there. I mean, but personally, if I had the cushion of knowing I was not going to be
would you have a higher grade on Jordan Love than anyone in this class right now?
Oh yeah, it's not even close. Yeah, I wrote an article about it for Blue Chip Scouting. I had a mid-second round grade on Jordan Love in 2020, and he would be about 4 points higher than Carson Strong on my overall board. So I just think that Love is a little bit better. Didn't hate. How high would I draft the punter? I don't scout punters, man.
Neither do I.
Scout punters.
I scout game changers.
I have just I have just seen the absolute bombs that he has hit.
The left leg of God, bro.
Yeah, crazy. I did see one thread where a former punter was like, he's not that good. And I was like, dude, I don't know, man. Punter hits ball far. Seems like he's pretty good to me. Like, I have no idea.
I'll tell you who it is when we go backstage. But I have a direct connection to a current special teams coach in the NFL who was an interim head coach over the last couple of years. And he is called Matariza generational. And the other thing he said is it looks like the Dolphins are setting up to potentially draft someone like that or a Stonehouse because of the speed we're setting up. He's like, it looks like you want to go deep and get down there fast. Right. Because Keon Cross is like, dude, I think going into week 9 last year, only 7 times a gunner had reached 20 plus miles per hour and 4 of them were Cross.
Interesting.
So he's like, the speed tells me you guys are planning to go deep, and we haven't made a move for a punter. I'm telling you, and I'm like, why are they holding on to that 125 pick? Because we all know there's been, you got to look out for the Rams because they haven't made a move for a punter and they got rid of Hecker. I've heard the Ravens are kind of because I think if they cut their punter post June, they save over $4 million. So I've heard and that's such a Ravens move, right? Yeah. And the Ravens are like lurking around. So because I've heard if you don't take him by the 4th, he's not going to be there in the 5th.
That's crazy. I don't know how I'm going to justify the punter in the 4th round. That's going to be really interesting.
We need punter, linebacker, right tackle, and center. That's it, and then depth.
Yeah.
We're a team that doesn't have like a ton. If we had like freaking 8 holes here, I'd be 110% with you. You know what I mean? But I will say this, and here's the other thing too. With the amount of times, and I don't think our offense is going to stall like this, but with the amount of times our offense has stalled over the past couple of years, I don't know if you saw, but last year he had a game, bro, where he had 3 kicks and he had 3 punts in one game over 70 yards.
He's nuts.
Just change the field, bro.
Yeah.
It
would be nice. It would be a very nice luxury to have. for sure.
So, anyways, Dante dissonance. But anyways, let's segue into here. Let's start off with the offseason because people haven't really got your offseason thoughts. And let's go chronologically here. Let's start off with the group of moves in terms of the one move I absolutely fantastically love was Alec Ingold. But I love that move, bro. Well,
That's
you don't scout fullbacks either. Hey,
I want fullbacks. No, I want fullbacks. I'm gonna scout fullbacks.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
And then obviously Raheem Mostert,
Right.
if he stays healthy, we know what he can be. Chase Edmonds, Cedric Wilson, and keeping the defense intact with Ogba getting paid what he got paid. What were your overall thoughts in terms of the early free agency moves of showing the signs of okay, I want to keep the defense intact for Boyer. We're gonna find out who was calling plays because I'm giving you the exact same defense. Go get it done. And also sending the message of, hey, if you're productive, we'll take care of you here, even if you're not my player in terms of, he just walked in here now with Ogba. And then on top of that, you can see the change going to that outside zone, look right in that hybrid West Coast offense right now. What are your thoughts on the early stages before we get into the big moves of free agency like Cedric Wilson and such?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was very happy with what the Dolphins did in the early stages without knowing about any of the big names that would be coming down the pipeline. Now, obviously, I would have liked to see them address offensive line in those early stages, but they had a plan for that.
Do you like Connor Williams?
Yeah, I like Connor Williams. I think that's fine. I think that, he's a starting caliber guard, something this team hasn't had in a minute.
And one of the best run blocking guards in the NFL.
Yeah, so he saw, that's a good signing. And I wrote about Cedric Wilson and Chase Edmonds for Dolphins Talk when they got signed as hey, for me, this is how you should do free agency, right? Go out and get young, ascending players that are scheme fits that you're going to plug into your system and you think you can get more out of them than what you've got. You didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for Edmonds. You didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for Wilson. The Dolphins were the slowest
the money
team
around.
Exactly, right? So the Dolphins were slow as hell for years, man. Edmonds comes in, even if he plays 12 games, those 12 games where he plays and he's able to rip off, a little bit over 4 yards, almost 5 yards per carry on his limited reps, is a huge boon. Even if, Cedric Wilson is your third wide receiver and, the occasional play per game where he breaks a tackle or two and makes a guy miss an open space, it's going to be worth that money to you because you have just not been able to do that for years. So I was super high on what they did early, and then they go out and get the bigger guys. So I like Connor Williams. I like Chase Edmonds. Raheem Mostert's really good. If he's healthy, I think you're right. He's like the quintessential Mike McDaniel running back. He's a UDFA from a nowhere school that he just plugged into the system, and all of a sudden he rushes for almost 1,000 yards if he's healthy. So again, I liked what they did. I think my only complaint about the early signings would be bringing back some of the linebackers that I wish they would have trimmed off of the roster. I understand maybe wanting to bring them back for, leadership,
special teams.
Some of them for special teams, right? Like Duke Riley's probably a special teams guy, but man, if I have to watch Landon Roberts play snaps on defense again, I'm going to be upset. Obviously.
Ready.
I know. But, I would say that's my only complaint. And it's a super minor one. It's not like they're paying those guys any, real money. They cut Jesse Davis eventually too. So I really like what they did in the early period. I thought that's how you should approach free agency, right? Is you either go out and you pay people that are bona fide stars, or you go out and you make good value signings that make sense, right? Like the Jaguars did the whole, we're just going to pay every top player at every position $1 bajillion. And they've been doing that for years and they suck. And they have always been bad and they've been doing that forever. Maybe it changes for them this year, but the Dolphins used to do that too. And they did it this year. They paid a player who, in Teron Armstead, who is very, very good, right? There's no question about that. He's not He's not a random player like Christian Kirk was resetting that wide receiver market, right? So that makes sense to pay a player like that big money, and then you give smaller contracts to players with upside. So I like a lot of what they did there.
Do you think in terms of running the football, what he's done by adding now Teron Armstead next to Connor Williams, we got one of the better left sides in the AFC at running the football right now with what he wants to do?
Yeah, I mean, you'd hope so, right? I think that the way that the Dolphins were always going to be able to manufacture a running game was always going to be through the offensive line. I don't
Yeah.
think that there are a lot of people who want them to draft running backs high, and I understand that, but it's just not, there's no reason for it. There isn't. Offensive linemen are significantly more valuable, so them infusing talent and money into that left side is going to be the best way to improve that running game. And you know, I think that those two guys can do a really good job there. I mean, Armstead's he's phenomenal. He really is just a beast. And I tweeted this when he was signed.
And the price, Dante,
not that bad. Not that
what?
bad.
I'll take that all day, man.
Me too. That was one of my first initial reactions. Then my second one was like, I'm going to be honest. I don't care if the dude misses 5 games. I really don't. Like 12 games of Teron Armstead, I would take
come back
that.
for the playoffs.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I would take that all day. So I know a lot of people were concerned about his injuries. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to suck it up. You got to pay good football players, especially in the AFC, man, because the AFC is nuts.
Let me ask you about Teron Armstead for a
second.
Yeah. Because I want to get your thoughts because you're a scout. You scout and all that kind of and you evaluate. Do you think that's going to help have a ripple effect? We know the kind of ripple effect of caliber of that player and caliber of leader has. I know you've probably heard me. I've been saying since we got McDaniel, I've been telling people Jackson's going to be starting at right tackle. Get ready for it. I've been saying this because, again, we go back to athletic profile and the scheme and what they want to accomplish. And if you look at it, Austin Jackson is profile-wise, athletic trait-wise, he's the closest thing we have to Teron Armstead on that offensive line. It's just coachable things, hand placement, footwork, his motor needs to be a little bit better, and then anchor, right? He needs better, but his is a lot about coachable issues that you can fix. And you see Frank Smith, John Embry, Mike McDaniel, Matt Applebaum, all the people we've added that have offensive line coaching experience here. Do you think this is going to have a positive ripple effect on Austin Jackson? Because, bro, I know you're an Eichenberg guy. But you got to be worried at not only the play you saw from Eichenberg last year, but what the scheme's going to ask of Eichenberg. I don't know if he has the athleticism. You look at it, it's like Jackson has all the athletic profile traits you'd want in this scheme. Eichenberg doesn't have very many of them. That's the thing that we're getting to now.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally, right, you'd like to fuse those players together, right? Give me Austin Jackson's athletic ability with a little bit of Eichenberg's IQ. I just think that, man, I don't know. I think if you get Jackson out there and he is passable, I think you're going to have to survive with that. It's hard to be worse than what Jesse Davis was last year, and this team won 9 games. So, I think that they can get by with him at right tackle. I worry about Austin Jackson having to learn to play that position. He's never played. Yeah, I mean, that's, high school, sure.
Just dominate people, just throw people
around.
Right?
Like, just throw
bigger than
around.
everyone.
Yeah, you're a 5-star recruit going to USC in a couple of months. Like,
yeah.
I don't think the bottom line is there's no good answer at right tackle, right? Like, there's no answer at right tackle that makes me feel
and with where we're drafting
good.
They're all going to be developmental. You're not going to be taking someone that like I don't think what's his face, I don't think Lucas is going to be there.
He might be.
I don't think Abraham Lucas could be 102. You really think he'll be there?
I think he could be. Yeah, the NFL does not.
He'd be perfect in this
particularly
scheme, bro.
Love those Washington State guys.
Yo, he'd be perfect in this scheme.
I mean, I think there's a couple tackles that you take a shot on at 102. I think, I'm assuming we'd get into it later, but like 102 for me is honestly like a pick where like I'm taking a shot on a guy with a high ceiling. Yeah,
roll the dice.
Yeah, like I'm throwing it at some crazy athlete. You know what I mean? Just hoping I hit it. But
we'll get into that.
For right tackle, like I think you roll Jackson out there. If you can't handle it, maybe you go to Eichenberg. I don't know. I really don't. There's no good answer. I don't want to see either of those guys right tackle, man.
But at least Tua only has to worry about one side. Because I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you agree with this. I feel a lot comfortable if they roll with Dieter, but I still think they're going to try and make a play for an Alec Lindstrom or a Juergens or someone like this potentially too. Or maybe what's his face, Donovan West or whatever. But I feel a lot more comfortable in Dieter sandwich between Williams and Armstead on his left and Hunt to his right, as opposed to like just Hunt and then everyone else is just a jabroni. You know what I mean? Because that's the other thing too, dude. When the going gets tough, they got Armstead to lean on now, and even Connor Williams. These guys had Davis to lean on, for and then Lemuel Jean-Pierre. What were we expecting from these guys? You know what I mean? So, but let's talk about the biggest acquisition. Obviously, Tyreek Hill. Obviously we traded the 29th, the 50th, the 4th, a 6th, and then some picks next year for him. And then we turned around and we made him the highest paid receiver in football. He actually has a cap hit in 2026 of $50.1 million, which tells you that 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025 are their windows to win. What are your thoughts on that acquisition? Do you agree with it in terms of, one of Bill Parcells' biggest things was you never pay for a player twice. You never trade picks for him, and then you never turn around and pay him right away. If you exclude quarterbacks, we added a top 5 player in the NFL. We added a top 3 athlete in the NFL. What are your thoughts? Only Devante Adams, I think you can make the argument, is a better wide receiver. I mean, this guy can play X at his size because his freaking release package at the line of scrimmage is so freaking ridiculous. What do you think of the move for Tyreek? Does it make us a power player in the AFC, given all the moves you've seen all these other AFC teams made? And I'm going to 3-prong this bitch. The big one, how do you see it impacting to his development in year 3?
Oof, man, that's a lot. All right. I'll start with the first part of that, of what do I think of the trade. I think it's fine. I'm okay with it. They didn't give up too much, right? If it was 2 first-round picks, I think maybe you'd hear me grappling a little bit. But the way I sit back and look at it, were they going to draft a player better than Tyreek Hill at 29
or 50
or 50? No, no, they weren't. So for me, I'm okay with that. I think paying him they did pay him a lot. I don't know. I'm less happy about the contract versus the trade. So I understand where Bill Parcells is coming from there.
Yeah.
But I think that to answer the second part of the question, I mean, I think they had to make this move, right? Like, you are the Dolphins and you're sitting there, and I think they had a good offseason, right? Like, I think, I was a little bit skeptical of the Brian Flores firing, but I think they got the best possible candidate that they could in Mike McDaniel, and I'm very excited about what he can do as the head coach. I think they did a really good job in free agency. Before that, I think, getting Teron Armstead, keeping the defense intact, getting some of the fringe playmakers that they got. But if you look around at the AFC, I mean, I really didn't think the Dolphins were going to be in a chance to, a spot to compete with some of the other teams this year, right? Like, maybe they compete in their division. I didn't think that they were going to be as good as Buffalo still. You look at some of the other divisions, Baltimore is still really good. Cleveland traded for that other guy who I'm not going to bother talking about. The Colts have Matt Ryan. I know that the Chiefs, right, they lost Tyreek Hill. They still have Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's still very good. The Raiders add Devante Adams. They add Juju Smith-Schuster in Kansas City. The Chargers have done a ton this offseason. Justin Herbert's really good. Denver gets Russell Wilson. So for me, right, like, if you're Miami and you're sitting there and you have an opportunity to add a player like Tyreek Hill, who is, it might be the most unique talent in the NFL. I would say the only person even remotely comparable to him is the other guy on the Dolphins roster in Jalen Waddle, right? So I think that when you have an opportunity to add that player in this conference, and again, like, the Dolphins are in a weird spot, right? Because they just changed head coaches. But this is a win now football team, right? Like, the rebuild is over, right? Like, Mike McDaniel needs to hit the ground running. So when you have an opportunity to add an instant playmaker like Tyreek Hill, you have to do it. Now, to answer the last part of your question, how does this help Tua Tagovailoa? Look, man, top 2 receiver in the NFL, dude's fast as hell. Just throw the man the ball and let him go to work. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think you could get a better option for Tua than Tyreek Hill, right? Like, there's no version of this where Tua does not end up better. than he was last season, right? I'm doing a long form article on Tua, all my thoughts on Tua. It's going to come out later this week on DolphinsTalk.com, just working through the last edits and such, right? And I talk about some of the concerns that I have about Tua's game, right? And you talk about some of those concerns, and you feel like a player like Tyreek Hill might not be able to fix those concerns, but alleviate them to the point where they are not completely holding back the Dolphins offense. So again, like, I think that adding him is so important because he is just able to break games and break other teams. You are never
Especially
out
the
of
Bills.
a game. Yes, especially the Bills. You're never out of a game when you have Tyreek Hill and his ability to turn every pass that he catches into a touchdown, right? Regardless, people are like, he's not going to be as good with Tua or, because it's not Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, look, man, like, you know what? You're probably right, because Patrick Mahomes is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks. But there are plenty of plays on Tyreek Hill's film where Patrick Mahomes throws a bubble pass and Hill turns upfield and runs 40 yards.
He had the most completions of any quarterback at the line of scrimmage last year,
right?
Bro.
So again, like, it's a weird narrative to me, right? Like, people are like, oh, Mahomes is, so much better than Tua. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but that's not really the point. You know what I mean? Like, that's not like,
you just got to be a point guard. You just got to
argument here.
You just got to facilitate Tyreek Hill. You just got to get him the ball in open space and let him go to work. It's not about throwing it 60 yards deep to this guy, bro.
Yeah, again, like, what is the difference? And I cover. Look, Tua needs to be better at throwing the ball downfield. Sure. He needs to push the ball down the field more, right? Like, I'm not trying to make excuses for Tua.
I'm telling you this. I'm going to tell you this.
But, like, what's the difference between a 30-yard throw and a 22-yard throw that Tyreek Hill runs 60 yards? No. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's what happens after the catch, right? Which is where we didn't have. Like,
exactly.
When he learns to read all three levels more consistently, and when he learns to stop predetermining the wrong throw, because you saw that on film he would predetermine the wrong read pre-snap. He would, you saw it inside the 5 a lot, right? He would have Gesicki or someone on a drag or slant over the middle with no safety or linebacker help over the middle, but instead he's taking the double coverage in the right corner of the end zone when you should know right away. It clicks to you as soon as you walk up to the line. Okay, I got no help over the middle. This guy's going to, he's dragging or he's making a quick cut and he's there. Just get the ball there. When he stops doing those two things, when he starts getting more consistent at reading all three levels, and when he stops predetermining the wrong read, you're going to see, because here's the thing. You saw multiple flashes of this guy. And then, on top of all this, how many times do you see him make a throw to Waddle in triangle or box coverage because there's no one else that's a threat on the field and everyone's just collapsing towards Waddle, and it's like there's not even a chance. How can you get Yak when there's no chance for Yak? And then we got to sit through the first 9 weeks with Jacoby and Tua where they're using Waddle like he's Jarvis Landry inside 5 yards. And you're like, what the hell are you? Don't even you guys got a Ferrari and you're driving him like an 80-year-old woman drives a Taurus, bro. You know what I mean? Let me ask you this though. Shoot. You look at the scheme because you watch a lot of tape, all right? So you've seen a lot of offenses, a lot of defenses, how they handle offenses, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at the speed we've added, okay, Tyreek 4.2. I'm calling Waddle a 4.2 because we've all seen the Ruggs video, all right? So I'm calling him a 4.2. Raheem Mosert's a 4.3. I know Nick Hicks and them at Perform have clocked Bowden in the 4.37. Okay. You got what's his face? You got Edmonds and Cedric Wilson. They run 4.5, but they look more 4.4ish on tape. Then you got Gesicki, who runs a 4.5 at his size. With all that speed, and then you even got speed. I mean, freaking our left tackle runs like a 4.7 40. Okay, so you look at all the speed they're starting to add, and you look at the scheme we're going to. Okay. I've been telling people, I want your opinion on this. I've been telling people, it seems to me there's going to be a learning curve and an adaptation period for defenses in the AFC because they've never seen the scheme executed to this. It looks like he was like, all right, here's the Shanahan offense, but here's my vision of it. Add the speed Kansas City had when they got to the Super Bowl. But, the difference is McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, these guys had no hands. Jalen Waddle, and they weren't good route runners. Jalen Waddle, damn near elite route runner, fantastic hands. Cedric Wilson, really good route runner, good hands. Lynn Bowden, only guy in 2020 who literally didn't drop a pass. So, and then you got Chase Edmonds and Moser coming out of the backfield, and Edmonds can run routes like he's a freaking receiver. When you look at what they're doing, do you project like an offense that could take the AFC kind of a little bit by surprise early on and be throwing up points?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely in the cards, right? I don't know if there has ever been a faster wide receiver duo. Man, I don't want to say NFL history in a long time than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't know what those guys were running back in the day, but I doubt it's as fast as these guys are running now. Not to say that they're the best receiver duo in NFL history, because that's utterly ridiculous. But if you're just talking pure speed and ability to break tackles and accelerate and beat pursuit angles, I don't think you're going to find a better duo. So yeah, teams are going to have to adapt to that. And again, I think it's on Tua and it's on Mike McDaniel to make sure that they maximize those weapons and maximize their skill sets, right? Because you can have track guys all over the field, and if you aren't using them correctly, you're not going to be, doing very well. One of the nice things that we've seen from the NFL in general, and it looks like that's the way the Dolphins are going, is the NFL is starting to figure out how to use these track athletes effectively, right? Because there was a lot, and you remember, because you do a lot of scouting too, right? Like when these track guys came out, we were like, he's got to go to the right team. It's got to be the right team. But now, every team's got a dude who just runs 4.3 right now. The Dolphins have like 4 of those dudes, the best one, and maybe the second best one, if you're really getting, strict about who runs 4.3 and Jalen Waddle, right? So like, I think it is going to be an adjustment. Again, it's going to be on Tua. It's going to be on the offensive staff to maximize those talents, because, there is no reason for this offense not to be explosive this year. Just absolutely none. Even if, God forbid an injury goes to Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, you still have significantly more speed at receiver. You have significantly more speed in the backfield. There's no excuse for this offense to not be explosive. So, could it be an adjustment? Yeah, for sure. I think, teams are going to, it's the Mahomes conundrum without Mahomes, right? It's going to be teams are going to put a lot of too high safeties on the field, and then you're going to run the ball down their throat. They're going to come out of too high, and then you're going to throw the ball over their heads, right? So that's what they want to do, but you have to make sure that threat is ingrained and palpable at all times, because if it's not and teams don't respect that, like they haven't for the Dolphins, it's not going to go well. But again, like I do think it could be an adjustment, because I don't think we've seen 2 people as fast as Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill playing on the same football team. I really don't.
Yeah. And you look at it this way. I tell people in this sense, go look at what McDaniel did in San Francisco. He upgraded Trent Williams with Teron Armstead. Right? Trent Williams, remember, was injured, washed up before they traded peanuts for him and brought him to San Francisco. He got back to being one of the best in the NFL. And then last year, he's arguably one of the best players in the NFL next to Aaron Donald. And that was McDaniel's first year. Yeah, I mean, the guy had him motioning, bro. And then you go look at Debo. What did he got? He got Debo on crack with Tyreek. Because people forget, Tyreek wasn't a receiver coming out. What did he play? Running back. Right. And you've seen when they've used him as a running back in Kansas City, he's been super duper explosive. So they've kind of, if you kind of look at it, he's taking the same principles, but he's like turning up the meter. He's saying, okay, you guys have seen these principles, you've seen these concepts, but now you're going to see the new wrinkles with when I got speed to play with. Because even you heard Shanahan at the owner meetings, even Shanahan was like taken aback by how much speed that he had put together, right? Like even he said, I've never been able to put together that much speed. Like, yeah, it's scary,
it's a track
man.
team. It's a track team on offense. It's
scary, bro.
It is a track team for sure.
It's scary. So let's talk about the draft, obviously, here. So I know you were happy as a pig and when we traded 29 and 50 and then our other 4th round pick and made your job a lot easier this offseason. Let's start with 102. You were talking earlier about how you're just going to take basically highest ceiling available. right? HCA.
Yep.
And you're going HCA. Okay, we need a punter, we need a linebacker, inside linebacker. We need a we need a right tackle, we need a center. And then maybe we need some depth at defensive tackle. What are your thoughts on what are you like, what ideal positions would you be targeting, highest ceiling available at 102?
Yeah, I think I would probably start up front with the offensive line, right? If I can get a fourth round center with really good athletic traits that I feel like projects well to my system, maybe I get a low cost starter upgrade to Michael Dieter. Same thing at guard. Maybe I don't have to pay Connor Williams again. Maybe I let that contract go because that was not a long term deal, right? I developed that guy for a year or two behind Connor Williams, and then I move on. And then a tackle, you still need a right tackle. Maybe if I draft a developmental guy, right, like you talked about Abraham Lucas, maybe Braxton Jones from South Alabama, right, a guy that I can let sit and I can teach him right tackle, right? Like I get a whole year to mold this guy as a right tackle. Maybe I survive with some combination of Eichenberg and Austin Jackson at right tackle, or maybe I bring in a vet that gets cut in training camp, something along those lines. I don't know, but that would be where I would start, right? When I'm doing, highest ceiling available, right? I start at the positions that I value the most, right? So that for me, that would be offensive line. Can I get a good athlete that fits my scheme there? Then I move to like the other side of the trenches, right on that D line, right? Is there a defensive tackle or an edge rusher that I feel really, really good about that I think, can help and develop in my scheme, right? And then I build it out. So then it's, linebacker, I take a look at wide receiver, right, just to make sure nobody's fallen, for any weird reasons or anything like that. I don't think Dolphins fans want to hear this, but, defensive back, I don't hate it, right? You just paid Xavier Howard buku bucks, but, I can't say I'm a huge fan of, Nick Needham as a long-term option at corner. I think he's fine in the short term, and I'm glad that they brought him back. I think that was a smart move, but you're going to have to replace Byron Jones eventually. You can never have enough good corners. Don't think Noah Igbenogany is going to be that guy for you, right? So for me, it would just be like, okay, like I'm going to start with the O-line, and I'm going to go to the D-line, and then I'm just going to build it out. And I'm just going to say, okay, is this player a fit for us? Does he have a ceiling that I think I can get him to with this pick? If the answer to those questions are yes, I'm going to take them. So that would be my process there. I don't know if the Dolphins will take that same approach, because the flip side of that approach is I'm going to take a guy that I know is going to come in. Maybe he only plays 15% of the snaps in the game, but you know what? He gives me a good 15% of the snaps, and he doesn't have a high ceiling, but I feel good about him coming in this year because we're trying to win this year. I would take a little bit more of a long game approach because it's pick 101. I don't know how many of those guys you're going to find, but again, for me, it would start with the trenches, and then I'd kind of build it out.
Let me ask you this. A guy that I've been saying that, this team would be interested in drafting, and I still believe that with 102 and 125 still on the table. Alec Lindstrom out of Boston College. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That's not a bad spot for him. I think I want to say I have a 5 on Lindstrom. I could double check that. So that's about right where I'm expecting him to go. It makes sense with Matt Applebaum coming in from Boston College, right? You like that pedigree. You like that familiarity. You'd like to think that if they do select him, that means they got a favorable review from their all-line coach, which I think goes a long way. Lindstrom for me is just not quite the athlete that I want him to be. Again, I don't know if somebody like Cam Jurgens is there at 102, but I'd rather take him over Lindstrom.
Yeah, that's what I
I think you want a center in this offense that's a little bit more nimble than what Chris Lindstrom is getting you. I don't think that's a bad pick. I would not be against them taking, Alex Lindstrom. Chris Lindstrom's his brother on the Falcons. Alex Lindstrom with that 102nd pick, but probably not my top target, if I had to say.
I know a lot of us want a linebacker, and you talked about Landon Roberts and such like that. What are your thoughts on the guys that might be around in that area? Who do you see being maybe potentially still available at 102? And who do you see as potentially a fit around 102?
Yeah, linebacker's tough because there are so many different guys, and I don't think the class is that deep. So for me, if I'm, scouting for the Dolphins at 102, right, I'm looking for big, burly downhill players, right? Because Jerome Baker's kind of the sideline to sideline guy. I don't think they're going to draft another one of those players, especially because they're keeping that defense in task. So I maybe would think about somebody like Darian Beavers coming out of Cincinnati if he's there in the fourth round, right? UConn transfer, gives you a lot of experience, very, very smart. He's a downhill player. He's a blitzer, right? I think he gives you a little bit more juice than a Landon Roberts.
I was telling EM about him a couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like
one of my favorite
Beavers.
sleepers.
Yeah, I like Beavers in the fourth round. I think that's a good spot for him. Doesn't really have the athletic upside. He's not going to wow you, but I think he gives you enough play that you feel good there. If they're going to like really find an impact linebacker, they're probably going to have to trade up a little bit. You know, we'll see how far somebody like Leo Chenal falls in the second round. I think he'd be perfect for them. I think we talked about him pre-show. Chad Muma probably doesn't fall past the top 60 out of Wyoming. He'd be another interesting option. Georgia has several linebackers. You know, I don't know where Nakobe Dean goes. Probably
what do you think
much
about
higher.
Quay?
Who?
Quay Walker.
I like Quay. I think he's solid. I like all three of those guys, honestly, man. I like Quay. I like Nakobe. You know, I think that they've got a lot of potential. They're three very different linebackers. The talk right now is that Quay's not going to get it out of the top 50. I don't see that on film. He's more of like a top 80-ish to 90 guy for me, right? But again, that gets into your 102 territory. So if he's there, I don't think that's a bad pick. You know, Tyndall's the other Georgia guy.
Yeah.
I like him a little bit. He can come downhill and do some things. So I think if you get, you know, I would target guys like Beaver, Walker, Tyndall, maybe there. I've seen a lot of people mock Troy Anderson, the kid from Montana State, to them. I don't know if he's a fit, right? Like he strikes me as the Jerome Baker guy, right? Like the back and forth guy. Like they are looking to upgrade that stack linebacker spot. I'm not sure that Anderson fits that mold. Now, would I personally prefer for them to have two athletic linebackers on the field? Absolutely. However, that's just not really the scheme, and they're keeping around Josh Boyer, so I'm not sure they go that route. So I would look at more of the two Georgia guys that I think might get that far. You're probably relying on Tyndall, honestly, because the talk right now is that Walker's not going to get there. I don't think Dean's going to get there. So you might have to move up.
What do you think of what's his face? Christian Harris out of Alabama.
He's all right. He's a will linebacker, right? Sideline to sideline. You want to keep him clean.
Mm-hmm.
Coverage upside is really nice. Watching him turn and run and cover tight ends is really impressive. I thought that's where his film was at his best. Where he struggles is just processing. He's just a little bit slow. Or maybe maybe he's not slow and he's just hesitant. I don't know which one it is. I'd have to sit down and have a conversation with the guy, but he is just not consistent on the way that he reads blocks and the way that he gets downhill and the way that he deconstructs, the way that he fills his gaps, different things like that. I think you're missing a little bit of the mental side. But if you're talking athlete, yeah, he's up there with the top of this class. It's just like moldable athlete that I can get into my scheme and get him to run sideline to sideline and play in coverage.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I actually see a fit on the inside with Anderson, not only because of his size, but I honestly, I from what I saw, he had a pretty high football IQ, and I think that's one of your big prerequisites to playing on the inside. I don't know, man. I actually, he intrigues me, because I know that I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, he played Will or Mike.
Yeah, he played a little bit of both. I mean, his story is wild, right? This guy played quarterback, running back. You know, he's played edge. He's been on return, special teams. I mean, he's nuts. I mean, he's one of the best stories in the draft for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I thought his biggest weakness to me was shedding blocks.
Yeah, he's a little bit light in the pants. I think. And again, like that's why I'm not sure that they go that direction with linebacker. I would like them to personally, right? Like I would much rather prefer two athletes on the second level and the downhill guy is a rotational player versus one athlete, one downhill guy, and a rotational player. Like to me, I think that's a little bit antiquated, but it seems to work for them. So I don't know if they're going to mess with that formula. Because if you go with a guy like Anderson, right, like that makes me think about Terrell Bernard from Baylor, is a player that I really like at the second level. I'm just not sure that that's the road that they're going to go down.
I'm as my number 9 linebacker. What do you think of Mike Rose out of Iowa State? Have you had a chance to watch him?
Yeah, high IQ guy. I think he's a day 3 athlete. I just think that you're going to have to live with the fact that he's limited. Again, he could be that downhill guy, high IQ. I would not spend a 4th round pick on him. He's more of like a 6th, 5th round guy for me. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. I think he can get in on special teams. I think that he's a good tackler. He's very smart, just not a player with a high enough ceiling that I would consider him unless everyone and their mother is off the board at 102.
Did you like Clark out of LSU before the injury?
I did. Yeah, he's very much in that Christian Harris, will linebacker, good athlete, good coverage ability role. I liked him a good bit. Really wish he didn't get hurt. I think he could have been a top 50 pick, depending on what his testing came back as.
All right. So when you look past, obviously we've talked a little bit about center. We've talked a little bit about linebacker. We've talked a little bit about tackle here. Are you a fan of drafting a guy who's like we talk about Lucas or Daniel Filele? These guys played right tackle. Are you a fan of converting a guy from left to right?
I think it depends on the context of the situation. I am not a fan of converting a player out of need. You know what I mean? Right? Like what they tried to do with Eichenberg last year did not go well because they were forcing him into something that he wasn't clearly comfortable with. If I can draft a player at 102 and I can sit him and I can say, okay, I drafted you at 102. You are going to be the right tackle next year. And we're going to spend the entire year flipping you from left to right. And we are going to work on your footwork. We're going to work on sinking your hands. And we're going to really make use of this length and athleticism that you hopefully have because I drafted a prototype guy. So I think in that situation, yes, I'm okay with it. But if you're just like, okay, I drafted Liam Eichenberg in the 2nd round and my right tackle blows and I want to kick Robert Hunt inside, so I guess he's the right tackle now. Like that's where things start to go wrong. You know what I mean? Right? When you're forcing guys to do things that they're not comfortable with because you need them to, right? If I draft a Braxton Jones, a Zach Tom, a Matt Walesko, one of these like raw athletic balls of clay, and I sit them down for a year and I say, all right, you're going to be a right tackle next year and we're going to get you cleaned up and we're going to get you comfortable there. So when we roll into training camp in, 2023, you're fine. That's a different story. So I am comfortable as long as the situation and the infrastructure around that player is strong.
Are you fine with them taking a running back on any of these picks?
Yeah, no, I have no problem taking a running back at 102, which probably surprises people because I'm like notoriously anti-running back. 102 is a perfect spot for a running back. That's where you should be taking running backs, I would wager. So for me, yeah, no, that's fine. If they take a running back there, I just think it needs to be the right type of running back. I don't think that they need more speed. I really I don't. I'm not going to turn down more speed, right? Because I think that's obviously great, but
any chance you think a guy like Sincere McCormick is there with one of our picks in the 200s?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I don't think
he'd be awesome for the 3rd down change of pace. So kind of.
Yeah, I don't think the NFL is going to love him as much as Draft Twitter does. So I do think that would be possible. It's a deep running back class, man. I think that there's a lot of good pass catchers out there, right? I'd spend a 6th round pick on somebody like Max Borghi to catch the ball out of the backfield.
Right there, yeah.
I don't particularly love him as a running back, but as a receiver, I think he gives you a lot
Christian
there.
McCaffrey, homeless version of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. You and I talked about Rachaad White pre-show, right? That's a guy I wouldn't hate.
Do you like Devante Price out of Florida International?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure he gives you that receiver's profile if that's what you're going for.
Well, no, I'm looking for a guy. I'm more looking for a guy on 3rd. Because I look at our running back room.
Right.
Who the hell are we giving the ball to on 3rd down?
Chase Edmonds, probably. Right now. Probably Chase Edmonds.
Do you feel comfortable moving forward with that inside the red zone? I would rather
we could do better. You know what I mean?
I'd rather get a guy that can come in there and I'd offer me a little bit of speed and a little bit. That's why I talked about a guy like Devante Price. I would take him as my 3rd down rotational guy.
Yeah, I think there's a couple guys, right? You look at Price, Isaiah Pacheco from Rutgers, the guy I got a good look at up close, scouting the Big Ten this year. I went to a couple Rutgers games this year. I think he could be an interesting day 3 guy. I wouldn't hate to see the Dolphins get like a big dude. Like I'd like to see a bigger back maybe in this scheme too for like short yardage stuff. Brian Robinson really stands out of Alabama.
He'll be gone though
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really love his film. Zeus White from Georgia is a bigger guy. Damian Pierce from Florida. Those 3 SEC guys I wouldn't mind seeing. I'm a huge Hassan Haskins guy. I really like Hassan Haskins. Yeah. I don't know if he falls that far. I'm not sure. I think I'm significantly higher on him than the consensus, so he might be there.
So no more Jared Dokes? Is that what you're trying to tell me right now, bro?
Man, I don't bet on 7th round picks. I don't.
Ooh.
I don't do it. I don't bet on 7th round picks. 7th round picks should never, ever prevent you from drafting a player that you think is good at football. Ever. Unless they have already ascended to be very good. You know what I mean? Like if you are letting 7th round picks who spent the entire season on the practice squad dictate your draft strategy, you're doing it wrong.
Someone asked thoughts on Kevin Harris, the running back out of South Carolina.
He's a big guy and he turns like a semi. So again, if you're looking for that downhill tackle breaker type back, I think you can get away with that. I don't particularly love his film, but again, those types of backs do carve out roles for themselves, and I think Dolphins, probably could use one of those guys.
Do you think they're going to try and move up?
So I would. I don't know if they will. I would, and my reasoning behind that is because you don't have that many picks. You don't need quantity. You need quality. Yeah. So if you just want to pile up all those picks and go up into the back, in the middle of the 3rd round and draft, Leo Chenal falls and you spend Leo Chenal and then your next pick's in the 7th, you have 2 players from this draft class. I'm not going to be upset, right? Like you're in a position, the Dolphins need to win football games. The rebuild is over. The hoarding of picks, it's not happening this year. So if they have a player that they really target and that they really like, I'd go up and get him. Yeah, why the hell not? I really don't think that's a bad strategy. Again, it has to be for the right player. Don't move up because you just want to move up, obviously. But, I don't think that's a bad strategy. I think that, they need to win now. They need to win. This needs to be a playoff team. So again, like I would move up for the right player for sure.
Brady Horn, Rachaad White, perfect fit for this offense at 215 pounds.
Yeah, send it in. 102. I'll do it. Let's do it, man. Send it in.
You're just throwing caution and draft picks to the wind right now, aren't you, bro?
It's a 4th round pick. It's my own. It's the first.
Hey, you don't got to give it to me. I'm the one that was trying to tell everyone 29th pick is a glorified 2nd round pick.
No, you're right. It is.
You do not have 29 first-round grades in this draft. I don't care who your scout or evaluator is. No one has 29 first-round grades.
I've got 18. I've got 18 first-round grades. 18.
Oh. So, yeah, then you'd be all... So that basically tells me if you were a GM, if you had picked 19 or 20, you'd be looking to move back,
Maybe, yeah, if it's a good enough... If I can get Tyreek Hill, yeah, sure, why not? Send it in. I'm not going to draft Tyreek Hill at 19.
They already sent it in, bro.
Yeah, good. I'm good.
Oh, that's classic. So overall, I know I'll have you on. I'm gonna do a post-draft panel looking at like recapping the offseason stuff, and then I'll have you on that panel that I do, right before we hit the regular season with all our predictions. But on paper right now, is this a better team than last year to you? Is this team... I know, eh? People are out here talking Super Bowl, though. I say we can win a playoff game. Do you think that's too high of an expectation in year 1 with a new coach?
No, I think that's the ceiling, right? Like that for me is like the most successful season that I think is realistic. The AFC is tough, man. Pretty much every quarterback that I think is good is in the AFC, except for like Dak, Matt Stafford, and Kyler. I'm trying to think if Tom Brady unretired. So there you go. There's 4 quarterbacks in the NFC that I think are even remotely good. The rest of them are in the AFC. That's going to be a really, really tough conference. Yeah, I mean, I think that is their ceiling. I think they need to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think you can miss the playoffs with this team. So that would be my kind of prediction is like, I think that this is a playoff team. I think that they're probably a wild card team. I don't think they're quite as, all right, I'll rephrase. I am not going to believe in them to beat Buffalo until I see it with my own eyes.
Okay.
That's just where I'm at
But
this point.
don't you have a little faith in? First of all, everyone mentioned you forgot Aaron Rodgers.
I did forget Aaron Rodgers.
But
In my defense, I wish I could forget Aaron Rodgers in general.
But don't you look at it this way of like it was more of an issue of McDermott had Flores' number? Because remember last year that one game where we shut the Bills down, but offensively we couldn't just get anything going.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just at the point now where it's like
Tyreek's the Bill killer.
He is the Bill killer. I will give you that. I need to see it. I need to see it with my own eyes. I'm a pessimistic, scarred Dolphins fan.
Does Tua take the leap this year?
Oh God. I think I have a high belief that he can. I'm trying to talk myself out of definitive statements. I believe that. Okay, I'll put it to you this way: there is no excuse for him not to. Right? You had a full off season. You are healthy. The team has brought you a top 5 player at wide receiver, a top 5 player at offensive tackle, has surrounded you with speed. The billing for Tua coming out was always surround this guy with a track team, surround this guy with a track team. The Dolphins are a freaking track team. All right. So there's no reason for him not to take the jump. I think the question is, for me, and I don't want to spoil it because I'm dropping that article later this week, but like, how big is the jump for Tua is my
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like
my concern.
What's sufficient enough for you? Top 15, top 12? Does he have to creep into the top 10? What do you need him to be? Because I keep telling people, stop living in that highlight reel society. You can win with efficiency. And I use Joe Burrow as a perfect example. They didn't get 500 yards a game, 5 touchdowns a game, Joe Burrow. They got be efficient with the football, don't turn it over, make the 3 or 4 throws that are going to present themselves that'll help the outcome of the game be in your favor and move the chains.
Yeah,
that's basically what Burrow was during the playoff run.
Yeah, I'll phrase it this way. I think Tua right now is a very average quarterback. He's an average NFL quarterback. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't say that with a negative connotation. He's played 20 football games. Like I'm perfectly fine with the guy being an average quarterback right now. I think that he needs to get to an above average level, right? Like he needs to be, I don't know, like somewhere between 15 and 10, I think, for this team to get to and win a playoff game. And I don't think there's any reason he can't get there. I don't know if he can get higher than that, but I do think that range is where he needs to get to. And if he doesn't get to that, I think, there will be a lot of hard conversations. Right now, what's so weird to me, and I wrote about this in the story, is like, there is so much controversy around Tua. He's one of the most cut and dry evals I've ever done. Like I sat down this offseason and I watched all of these games. It is very, very apparent what he's good at and what he's not good at. There is like no gray area to his game, right? Like you can watch a player like Baker Mayfield who has insane highs and insane lows, and it's kind of difficult to figure out who is Baker Mayfield, right? Because Mayfield's highs are wild and Mayfield's lows are also terrible. Tua is like very the same, right? Like he has a bad play, but then he comes back, right, blah, blah, blah. But like he is very much a like a very easy evaluation. So the fact that there are so many people on polarized sides of this debate is very, very weird to me. He is a average quarterback, and frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like that's where I'm at with it. Right after rewatching these games and like again reading the numbers, 13th in completion percentage over expected, I'm fine with that. I really I am. Like it doesn't I don't know. It's very weird to me. So I think Tua takes a jump this year. How high that jump is, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And I want to ask you, do you still think he has because I'm one of those people that, I don't think we have. I think I think, so far we've only really had glimpses of his floor with flashes of, ceiling in and out. And then, I said year 1 to year 2, you look at year 1, you'd only get like 1 or 2 flash throws a game. Year 2, I was getting like 3, 4, 5 flash throws a game where it's like, whoa, like for example, I always go back to it that in that Ravens game, that back shoulder throw that he made on the corner throw to Waddle. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
He wouldn't have made that in year 1. Like he wouldn't have made that throw in year 1. He wouldn't even have attempted to it. So you saw progression, but the thing is now it's like we need a leap. You need to start putting it together. You need to start putting it because what the thing with Tua that I keep coming back to is what's glaring on tape is it's all consistency issues that he's having problems with. Like he will show you a flash and then he'll come back and he'll make you drop your head and be like, what the hell was that? It's like throwing over the middle. I was told last year from Nick by Perform that he was having a problem with dagger throws and such over the middle.
Yeah, last year, see that.
Yeah, but last year when he trained, the Dolphins told Nick and Perform bulk him up. We want him to have a bigger body to take on the hits at the NFL level. Now he's told Nick he wants to lean out a bit because it affected his touch over the middle. He got a little too strong a little bit, right? So
yeah.
But the other things too is like I don't know if you noticed this. I never saw the mechanical and base issues that I'm seeing with him right now on tape ever at Alabama. Like sometimes his footwork is like a disaster. Sometimes his base when he's throwing is a disaster. You saw times where he would know the hit's coming and he'd finish off his he'd follow through, he'd be cowering away, which affected his release and such. And you just be like, you never saw that at Bama, right? It's like you see signs of he doesn't trust the protection, he doesn't trust his body, you know what I mean? And I don't know, it's like, man, I'll just put it this way, I didn't see his footwork used to leave me in awe at Bama. Now you still see the pocket presence that's out of this world at times pop up, but like throwing the football, sometimes he doesn't do the simplest thing, like his front toe towards his target. It's like, you know what I mean? But I know you see it, bro. Like I never saw that stuff at Alabama. Like I never saw, he was known for being mechanically damn near flawless. And now I'm seeing mechanical issues I never saw.
Yeah, I thought Tua was going to be a really, really clean evaluation to the NFL, and it just has not been that way. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is, but his game has not translated the way that I thought it would, as cleanly as I thought it would. I don't know if I gave him too much credit for his athleticism. I don't know if the hip just took something from him. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that X factor is.
It clearly took some of his torque on the football, Dante, because you'd watch him in Alabama. Dante, he didn't have the arc under the football. You seen that? Devin, you noticed that too? He's arcing footballs, and he never did that at Bama. Like, he would make a 40-yard, 42-yard throw to Jerry Jeudy, and it would be torque behind it where it wouldn't be a rope, but wouldn't be arc. It'd be right in that middle, and it'd be land right to drop you right in the bucket. Yeah. And that's the one thing I know Nick hasn't been sharing these videos, but he's been showing me videos of they're trying to get the torque back that he had at Bama, and he showed me a video.
It, man.
Bro, they showed me a throw, Lynn Bowden 40 yards downfield, and Lynn's hands are at his chest, and he moves them just above his fade. Like it's just boom right there. Like they're trying to get the torque back right now, but like
he needs it.
He needs it because that's a big thing that's missing for him too. People don't remember that like, see, the thing I'm finding about a lot of people that hate on Tua is a lot of people didn't watch college Tua, because if you watch college Tua, you've seen things that like you can account back to the hip. The athleticism isn't quite the same as it was before the hip. The torque isn't the same as the hip. He doesn't trust his body the same way, obviously, before. You know what I mean? So there's certain things you can see. And somewhere, I don't know whether it's been coaching, I don't know what's going on, but something's happened in the mechanics. They don't, like, again, I go back to consistency. I don't consistently see the flawless mechanics I once saw. But, dude, I'm telling you, you look at the personnel he's had around him, from staff to players. You look at the numbers he's put up. We can call them average. We can say average play. But let's see. I think we can all pretty much agree that average play is most likely going to elevate seriously with all this talent around him.
It has to, right? Like, I am not. Again, I like to call myself a Tua neutralist, because I truly feel like that's where I fall on the spectrum. But it has to be better this year. He can't, if he plays the way that he did last year with this supporting cast, it's not good enough. They're going to move off. It's just not, and they should, frankly, if he does not take another step this year. And I'm not saying that he won't. I have a lot of confidence that he will, but it cannot be the same as last year, because if it is, you're not going to win a lot of football games, and this team's really going to go downhill, and you're going to be out a franchise quarterback. So again, like, I think that for Tua this year, I think the biggest challenge for him will be, and again, that maybe, I don't know, maybe Mike McDaniel runs a little bit more of a hybrid offense, but one of the things that I got out of studying him and poring over the numbers is that this is a player that relies on the RPO way too much. And that is independent of bad offensive line play and bad scheme. It is his bread and butter. It should remain a important part of the offense, but it needs to not be his best throw. There needs to be other stuff happening that he is exceptional at. And that's where I'm looking for the jump, right? Because if you watch a Mike McDaniel offense, not a lot of RPOs. There's some, they're still there, but there's not a lot. Tua had the highest percentage of RPO throws in the NFL last year, and he didn't throw that many passes. Not great. I don't care who the offensive line is or who the offensive coordinator is. That's not sustainable. It's just not. So he is going to have to learn how to be an under center, turn his back to the defense, play action passer to make it to the next step. That's the jump for me. That's what I want to see. You're still going to see RPOs. You should still run RPOs. Don't take them out of the offense.
They won't.
Right? But again, I'd love to see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle running two slants on an RPO. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, screw it. But like, the jump for him, in my opinion, is going to be under center, turn around, play action, and you're going to hit a 15-yard dig, a backside progression dig to Tyreek Hill, and he's going to catch the ball in stride and run upfield. Right? Like that is what I'm going to be looking for this year. That's where the jump has to occur with Tua for me, right? And again, like, I talk about this a lot in the article. You can blame the offensive line. You can blame the play callers. I don't really care. I really don't. Like, it needs to get better. And I am confident that it will.
Yeah, I think
really
he's gonna, bro. I think he's gonna give us. Listen, that 3.5-4 game stretch in November. I think he gave us top 15 quarterback play last year. I think he's gonna jump up to top 15, top 12 this year.
I think it's reasonable.
I think he's gonna be more than enough. He's gonna do more than enough. And honestly, Charlie Fry was clearly optics. I think we had one of the best signings in the NFL coaching circle this year when we got Darrell Bevell as a positional coach. I think Darrell Bevell is going to be huge for his career. I think this offense, the personnel that's coming in talent-wise, but along with the staff and Mike McDaniel, I think he's going to take the next step and then because we're actually surrounding him with a competent staff and a competent offense. And I think it's just going to be a natural progression and a natural step for him to take the next leap. I think it's just going to be natural. You know what I mean? So it's going to be organic. So I got full faith that Tua's going to get it done this year, bro. Because I look at it this way. Do I expect Tyreek Hill to give me 1,600 to 1,500 yards? No. But I think he can still give us 12 to 1,100 yards.
Yeah, why not?
I think Waddle can give you 11 to 1,000. Okay, so let's go on the low end. So 1,000 for Waddle, 1,100 for Tyreek. That's 2,100. I think Cedric and Gesicki could give you 550 to 725 each. So let's go 550 each. So that's another 1100. So now we're at 3200, right? Now Bowden gonna be good for what, 300-400 yards? Let's go 3. So now we're at 3500. Now I haven't accounted for whoever emerges as our number 5 receiver. I haven't accounted for the couple hundred yards that Durham Smythe is going to get, and I haven't accounted for the couple hundred that Edmonds and Moser are going to get out of the backfield, bro.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm being realistically on the low spectrum. This guy should be 3,600 to 4,000 yards, no problem, bro.
Yeah, no, I again, like there's no excuse, right? Like that's where I'm at with it, right? Is like Tua's an average quarterback right now. He needs to be an above average quarterback. There's no reason.
No, he's getting the chance Tannehill never got here.
I agree. There's no reason for him not to take a step this year. So
Yeah,
again,
I
like
agree.
I am totally confident that he will. I think he's
Dante,
solid.
I
He's
think
solid.
me and you would take a step this year under that offense. That's why I think he's going to, bro, because I think I said this on air, bro. I said I could go out there and average 5 yards air distance per throw and make sure every one of those throws gets to Tyreek, and he's still going to come up with 10 or 11 touchdowns, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we have a legitimate home run hitter.
Haven't had that in a long time.
Yeah, because Mike Wallace was just a one-trick pony, and Brandon Marshall wasn't a home run hitter.
Not with the Dolphins. Not with the Dolphins. No.
But even that was never his game, though, right? He was more like a big body guy, right? He was like if Devante Parker was consistent and good. That's what he was, basically. And that's what, like, Mike Wallace was just like, send him on a 9.
Yep.
Just send him. But this guy, bro, what I keep telling people, stop sleeping on the release packages of these guys, bro. Tyreek at the line, bro, and Waddle at the line, and they're really good, bro. They're really fantastic route runners too.
Press only works when you can hit the guy across from you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Tyreek Hill, man.
Good luck, buddy. And he's built like a brick shithouse.
He really is, man. He's thick as hell. He really is thick as hell.
Pause. Yeah. All right. Yo, bro, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Plug. I know you mentioned you got an article coming, you got some work coming, so
this is my big time of the year, April. We're rolling out final offensive position rankings for the NFL draft, defensive position rankings for the NFL draft, and a final big board and mock draft over on bluechipscouting.com. So give them a follow on Twitter, check back at the site, follow me on Twitter at Dante Collinelli. And then if you guys are big Dolphins people, I write for dolphinstalk.com. Obviously you're all here. I have a huge long form Tua article coming out. I'm hoping by the end of this week. I'm trying to make sure it's perfect before I release it. So I'm very much slow launching it, but it'll have videos. It'll have really, really in-depth statistics. I created a bunch of fake emails to get sports info solutions for several weeks so I could pick through there and get really good statistics. It'll have graphs from PFF and different things. It'll be film. It'll be stats. It'll be really, really good. And I have never made a definitive claim about my opinion on Tua, and there will be a definitive claim about Tua in that article. So that is coming out hopefully by the end of this week. So check back dolphinstalk.com, follow me on Twitter. I feel like those are all my plugs. I have a lot of them.
See, everyone knows I believe in Tua in his ceiling, but I've never declared him as a franchise quarterback. I said he's shown flashes. He's shown flashes that he might be worth the investment of a franchise quarterback. But I've said I've yet to call him a franchise quarterback yet. And hopefully that changes this year. And I think there's a good chance that it will because of what we surrounded him with. Brother, I appreciate you coming out and doing this, man. Always fun. Guys, I'm going to be back tomorrow night, and I'm going to be dropping the linebacker big board for all of y'all. So be out on the lookout for that. I'll be live around 8:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night with that. And until next time, as always, guys, you already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day, and everyone stay happy.